Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight. My name's Victor Jones. Welcome to the program AYV on Sunday. You're watching us on channel 33. Our international channel is 399 on DSTV, and you're listening to us on radio as well this evening on 101.7 FM as usual. Now on the panel this evening, I am joined by Honorable Muniru Lansana, who is representing the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party and from the 5th Parliament. Honorable Aminata Sisay from the main opposition, All People's Congress Party, and I'm also expecting to be joined by Reverend James Lahai. Reverend James Lahai is National Coordinator, National Elections Watch. Our viewers and listeners are highly encouraged, as usual, to participate in this program by dropping your comments on our Facebook page. It's always AYV News. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening to you and good evening to the viewers out there.
I will start by asking a general question to both of you. I mean, you choose how to answer it. I'll start with you, Honorable Lansana. What are your views about this tabled legislation, the 1991 Constitution?
Well, with regards to what I don't know particularly what view.
How do you describe it?
Well,
generally,
it is a people's drafted amendment, and I am strongly of the view that whatever is captured here is not captured here out of malice, but it's captured following recommendations from the Peter Tucker's recommendation, the Justice Cowan's recommendation, and of the recent Tripartite's recommendation. So my view in general is that the bill is a people-centered, and it focuses on ensuring we get a peaceful Sierra Leone and a Sierra Leone that will be better for all.
Honorable Sisay.
Thank you very much, Victor. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, and good evening, viewers. The bill, to me, again, we've received the bill. I think you were also fortunately part of the privilege. I think it's going to leave us in a better place than we were. I almost want to believe that, because of the very act of the fact that we have to look at it as a parliament. So whatever is going to be agreed there on the final product would have been what we both agreed. So I know it's going to put us in a better place. It is by any means answering all the questions or solving all the problems we have around electoral reform and human rights issues as per the TIC and the Justice Cowan. But it's a beginning. And any beginning towards a better development, towards a more stable Sierra Leone is welcome. So we welcome the bill. We'll do the needful. And as we say, for those that lead the bill, for the government side and the AG, we've actually followed the due process and make sure every Sierra Leonean's voice is heard on this bill. If we all come together and agree, then that makes the bill 100% view.
Honorable Lansana, you know, I mean, when you opened, you said that the bill was centered around the people of this country.
Yeah.
You know, well, Basita Michael would beg to differ. She has actually warned the government to be very wary about their decision.
Well, like I said, she's an individual. She's an individual.
A leader in constitutional law in this country.
Yeah, like I said, she's an individual and she has an opinion to profile in whatever constitutional matter that comes in. But that does not mean her opinion is 100% sacrosanct correct. Because if other legal luminary could write as well, they too will have their own view that they hold on a particular constitutional issue, especially when we look at the 1991 Constitution as a whole. Most of us could agree that it has outlived its time, and therefore recommendations from different quarters are coming in to ensure we get it phased out so that we bring in a new constitution for this country. But as at the moment, if we dare try that, people might think it's a method of thinking that you want to add more time for whatever process. But I do believe whatever recommendation or contribution she had made is her own contribution, and other writers as well has done theirs, and they are all subjected to their own view. But what matters is that the document is before Parliament, and Parliament is a supreme body that is powered with all rights to look into it, and those that are not people-centered will be omitted, and those that are meant towards making a better Sierra Leone will be incorporated.
You know, let's go into the law for a while. Let's discuss the different clauses that you've tabled. One of them, most controversial, I'll say, is the you know, electoral percentage.
Yeah.
Now, for the Tripartite Committee, they endorsed the SNP-led government, recommended that the presidential candidate must secure at least 25% of votes in at least 4 districts. Now, the amendment bill you're holding there says only 20. Now, this is something that all parties have agreed about, the tripartite. It's a memorandum of unity in this country. Hundreds of thousands of dollars were poured into its work. We have serious international experts who would come, who had made recommendations that it should be at 25%. Why lower it to 20%? You've even acted malafide against what the tripartite is recommending in the first place.
Well, that's where the issue is. Like if you said all parties, if you listen to other political parties in this country, they've outrightly said that the tripartite is two-party centered. That is SLPP and APC.
But it's a general business.
No, I am just saying.
Everybody's business.
I'm just saying when
they could have opposed it then before even its formation.
When you look at their views, just as I said, everybody is subjected to theirs. They too have raised concern that the tripartite only brings together that of APC and SLPP and international partners. Okay. And once this bill was taken out of these tripartite recommendations, they've looked at the 50+1 as an easy way to winning an election, and therefore they've added other amendments wherein we said plus a 25% from the tripartite recommendation. But now in this one they've dropped it to 20% because, like I said,
why?
The reason being, like we've heard from opposing parties where APC will say, for instance, it is difficult for us to get a 25% in the Southeast because they might be politically hostile or whatever. So a government that is a listening government will want to see that everybody participate, and the focus of participation is to ensure we all get what is needed for this country. And nobody wants to see another party failing.
Do you think it's a listening government? You said listening government. If the
Yes,
government were listening, really,
because that is why, if you notice,
acted on the will of the people. This tripartite report is generally the will of the people of this country. Huge resources we are poured into this thing, don't forget.
And when you listen to the will of the people have said, okay, the 25% is too much. Let's see how we could reduce it to 20. Because if you look at 25%... Which people said that?
Because, I mean, I'm just asking, which people are you quoting?
The AG has gone countrywide because...
Who did the AG, engage? I mean, I would have to ask him
if you followed...
in the morning, actually.
Yes, fine.
They'll be coming to our program, Wake Up Sarah.
If you followed with the office of the AG,
okay,
you will have seen him in different parts of the country before this bill finally is taken to Parliament. Okay. That tells you that additional consultations were done, where the 80 recommendations were read out to people, and people gave their views. That is why they have minutes that captures those things, and today that is informing the amendment that is before Parliament.
Your take on this? I know the opposition is has gone haywire actually about this particular decision that the AG made to lower it to 20. Do you still stand by that particular view?
Yes, we do. And Victor, we're talking about a percentage and talking about the term being used as simple majority. That is one concern. But even more concern is that during that tripartite, there were 80 recommendations, 80. And as we speak today, not even up to 10 of them is being represented on this bill. We have recommendations as simple as recommendation 20 that ask the ruling government to set up a committee that is going to be set up in Parliament. 20 says create a parliamentary committee for electoral matters and debate. As I speak today, up to now, that committee has not been set up. So yes, the AG has the claims of gone nationwide, but he has forgotten one of the main players in this tripartite, which is the APC. We sat together and agreed on this, and we thought even before they could have come with this bill, we should have been part of being this bill. But as you can probably follow from our press conferences, we were expelled from everything they've done with this constitutional review. For most of us, right till the day it was brought on the privilege, we had no idea what's in it or what was coming, which is why you saw the room was so full, because we were all curious. As I sit here today, we're still questioning, was it even gazetted? Because we have seen other bills come into Parliament, the abortion bill, the attention they gave to Parliament. They make sure we are well informed, taken away from Parliament and being tuition on it. Compare the abortion bill's importance to a constitutional review. You would have expected the ruling party to make a way for us to sit as one of the main opposition who sat with them in the tripartite. Which agree in the interest of this country, that despite the way the election have gone, despite the result, but we're happy to sit with you because we want peace. So first of all, I'm disappointed in many folds, but this is one major one. The very fact that they expel us from preparing this bill. And the second one
you expelled, really? But there's a rep who is in the...
We did not. Our reps out of 19, they gave us 3. And even that is out of press conferences been made, request upon request, we were given 3. But even they were shocked by seeing this. A lot of the things in there were discussed behind them and were put there in anyway.
I spoke to Dr. Umfa, who was here. He said actually that he raised some concerns during the time the bill was being read by the AJ. But I'm not sure some of these, you know, if you like, discussions were listened to in the first place.
He raised concerns
because what I said
during
is
the
that the APC had failed, actually, because if you wanted things to change, then you should have actually attacked them there.
On the pre-ledge?
Not when they have actually gone to Parliament now.
Well, attack them, as I say, I only saw this during the pre-ledge. And I can assure you from the party point of view, we were left out. I can say that authoritatively. We were completely left out of this. You saw that in our press conferences. We came out asking, even the international committee that was in between us, to let them know that we've been expelled out of this. But look at this again. As you said earlier, about the 50.1 and the 25% on at least half, which is 8, not 4, by the way, as it says 4 districts there. That would have been 8 districts out of 16. They've gone on themselves, moving that from 25 to 20%, and now say 2/3 of the district. And we have grave concern with this, as I have said before.
Why?
Not only the fact that we have never achieved 2/3 for reasons that we're best known, but it's also because if we make this, the election and the passing of the president tied to district, there's a risk with that, Victor, because as soon as that was mentioned in the tripartite, we start hearing the president creating district. In towns as small as Pujon, now looking to be divided into more districts. They then talk about dividing Freetown and adding 4 more districts. Because this, and the leverage of adding districts rests on the president, only to be consulting the local authority, the finance minister, and who is the third person now? There's another third party. So it's so controlled, the powers of the president in making a district. So if we are going to tie that to election, you and I can imagine what's going to happen. It's beautiful making all these papers, but we have to see what is practical for Sierra Leone. You talked about the TRC earlier. You talked about the tripartite. I will get to the tripartite, the Francis James Cowan report. All of these things are geared towards making Sierra Leone a peaceful place. And I don't think what has been put on this bill will give us any more better Sierra Leone.
You know, the TRC had actually explicitly recommended constitutional enforcement on socio-economic rights, education, health, food, shelter. Why are none of these provisions included in the 2026 draft bill?
Well,
after 20 years of advocacy, it's a waste of time, don't you think so? Like, a waste of resources. Even.
Like my sister mentioned earlier, there is no bill that will capture everything at a go.
But I think the essential one...
I'm coming. If you look at the recommendation beside that of the ones you've mentioned, the fundamental human rights aspect have not been captured yet. Because when you want to tamper with the fundamental human rights aspect, that's an entrenched issue. And once it becomes an entrenched issue, there's a room for what? A referendum. And until that happens, you cannot tamper with anything there. And so that is why these recommendations...
The Chief Minister had said that they don't have money to spend on, you know, making a referendum, you know,
beside the money aspect.
But they have money to spend on other things.
Beside the money.
Concerns the people. That's my question.
Beside the money aspect.
Is it too expensive to achieve the people's, you know, will in this country? It
is not expensive, but what pundit or discussion has been around the line is the fact that if we are to dare try a referendum at this moment, automatically the date of an election is going to be tampered with. And that is not what anybody wants to see.
You think so?
That I believe, because my sister can testify to me that if a date for what we call what am I saying? This what I'm calling just some minutes ago. If we are to do a referendum now, automatically a date is going to be shown, and that date is going to tamper with the election date. We all know, everybody believes now, election is in 2028. So if we are to do a referendum now, it's like first going to the people with a yes or no question, and until that happens, next calendar is going to be tampered with, and nobody wants to see that happens. And so these recommendations are just coming to ensure we get these bits first amended, and then once an election is conducted, the new government coming will now say, okay, let's holistically, as recommended by the Justice Cowan, the Tripartite recommendation, the Peter Tucker, get a holistic change of the 1991 Constitution. I've always said it, and I continue to say it. SLPP has just, or over the years, has just been doing amendments to constitutions. But as a party, we've not on any ground done any constitution on our own. Because if you look at the 1991 constitution, credence of it will be given to President Momo. If you look at the Republican constitution, credence of it will be given to Shaka Stephen. If you look at the independent constitution, credence of it will be given to that of the colonial masters. So all these factors tells you, SLPP as a government, the laws that we met are just the laws that we do some amendment to fit the people of this country.
So if you were to make a new one, would it be any different to
There will be a vast difference, and that is why, like, the next government coming will holistically now capture most of the recommendations done from the TIC.
And if that happens to be APC, you'll be asking it.
Well, like I said, the APC started it under former Anes Baikoma, which we call the Justice Kawan, but because certain clauses were included about presidential term increment and you going after 2 terms and coming again, and plenty other things, that was why it was shelved, because Sierra Leoneans were not ready for that at that moment, and the new bringing it will have caused another mayhem on its own. So what we are looking at now is how could we get some of the bits all in this tripartite, the TIC, the Justice Kawan, the Peter Tucker, and get them implemented so that we begin to move, because like it is said in some traditional words, like in Mende, mugile mupowime, I quote, bo alo mugo mugile. In other words, let's climb the hill and eat what will be in our stomach until we climb the hill. So in this moment, it's what we have to have in our stomach whilst we look further to see how we could get the 1991 constitution holistically changed to a new constitution for this country.
While you're about to climb the hill, don't you think it would have been also prudent to, because again, one of the provisions you have there is that it is president who will still choose the national returning officer of ECSL, the Electoral Commission. Things like that should be left to in the hands of neutrality, professionalism, if you like. In other countries, it happens like that.
That's exactly.
And the Chief Justice is still being appointed by the President, you know. The National Returning Officer, who heads NEC, is also still being appointed by the President. Why should that be?
If you look at
It's a recipe for rigging, don't you think so?
If you look at recommendation 38 of the tripartite recommendation, all the committees that we are recommended.
I mean, we all know.
I'm coming. Like,
it doesn't effectively work, actually.
Yeah, the narrowness about it now is before this time, the 1991 Constitution had made it clear that it is a president with consultation from political party leaders. Now, this recommendation to the tripartite recommendation 38 is now asking, let's bring committees, and these committees will select.
About decennial census.
No, okay, 36. 36 is talking about the Chat Committee. And this Chat Committee made recommendation for the Interreligious Council, the legal practitioner, as outlined.
Do you think this would work?
Yes, because what is going to happen? What is going to happen now? Yeah, like I said,
you think this would work, really?
It will
you
work.
have a history in Cell. You were born here.
It will
These
work
things
because
do not work.
Because the good thing about it now is the Chat Committee will now appoint 3 people. And out of these 3 is where the president will now appoint the one that will serve as the chief electoral commissioner. So now there are some checks. That is what is happening.
Honorable.
Yes, the tripartite did recommend to create a SHAT team on to select the electoral commissioner and the PPRC chairman, and recommended the organizations that they should work with. But what has this bill done? If they're going to, according to this bill, they have now asked that the president appoint 1 person from this organization. So it will still be the president appointing. So we'll be appointing 1 person from interreligious community instead of council. So once again, they've not used a reputable council that we all know and trusted. They've gone for community, which could be any of us, any imam, any pastor that you can consider as part of the community. A legal practitioner who shall qualify to be the office of a judge. Again, this just means choosing 1 person. He has not said from the bar. It means, why not give the mandate as we agreed on the tripartite? Give it to these institutions for them to have 9 people, each from their own institutions, and narrow them down to 3, where they made the interviews, they sort of assess these people and bring you the best 3 they elect, and then you choose 1 from there. But no, the president is asking that he appoints one person from each of these institutions. So at the end of the day, not only is he going to be appointing those 9 people, he then probably, or most likely again, once it's narrowed to 3, he's also been given the right to choose whoever he chooses without question. So again, this defeats the essence of the tripartite, as far as we know, the essence of any other peace talks we've tried to do to make this country peaceful. What this is telling us is still giving the president the powers to choose who he wants to choose. And that is worrying, because like we say, we're now looking to enter another agreement by discussing this bill and discuss it with all good faith in the interest of our people. But what's happened after we've discussed this, make this into a bill again? What if the president decides not to follow? If he can disregard the tripartite, he can disregard even the Constitution.
No,
We've seen that
you know, disregarding the Constitution is a crime. You can testify to that.
Yeah.
The tripartite is just a recommendation from a set of body.
But it was one done by almost
the
everyone in
president
this
dare
country.
not tamper with the Constitution, because the Constitution is a sacred document, and the powers of the Constitution far supersedes the power of the president, because it is the Constitution that the president takes an oath to. And so whatever obligation or function he performs it in line with the constitutional recommendation. And like my sister is saying, that is why the document is before Parliament now. Because the tripartite in recommendation 36 made mention of exactly what section 32 of this amendment is saying. Now, we all know the register is interreligious council. There is no interreligious community.
There is.
And so what happens in Parliament now, where we make law...
Council.
No, that's what I'm saying. We have the interreligious council and not interreligious community. So if there's a typo, for instance, Parliament now... I'm coming. Like I said, in Parliament now we have the power to change community to council, because that is why we are there.
What if that's not what actually the drafters mean?
That is not even
like-
the only
like-
thing, Victor.
like
It is
I
not
said,
just to
what
change it
happens
to council.
each
What about the
time-
power being given to the president to appoint instead of nominating?
And that is
People
why
being nominated.
Parliament is there again. We can change the wordings
Do you think
now.
you can change it?
Yes,
Just change
sure.
wordings?
Because when you go to Parliament, in the Legislative Committee, every bill going there is read word by word, sentence by sentence, line by line.
Sure.
And experts are being brought in. Sometimes we request Didi Thompson to come so that we know the spirit of the law. So if that is the case now, like my sister is recommending, as recommended in section 36 of the recommendation 36, what we'll do as Parliament now is, okay, let's get the wording straight. Who appoints this committee?
So simple.
No,
It's
what
not
I'm
just
saying,
about the wording.
who
It's a
appoints this
total-
committee?
It's a total disregard for what
If
is
you
been
go to
agreed.
recommendation 36, you can open it because you have it before. Yes. If you open recommendation 36, it's as well silence as to who appoints these people. So it tells you that even the
it says
tripartite was not
organizations to
perfect,
nominate.
because the tripartite committee only mentioned these people without showing who appoint them. So this document is now coming to say, okay, it still is the president, but at the end of the day, they go out independently to do a shot, bringing in the 3 people out of which the president will appoint the 1, which was not the case before. Before this time, president looks at anybody and say, you know what, you come forward, and the Constitution has made it clear to say whether the president did consult or not. Nobody inquires into that power of consultation. But now, the committee is having that power to make sure they narrow down the number to 3. Before this time, the president has the power out of 8 million to take 1 person. Now they are narrowing down to 3. So it tells you all the rights, the value, the access has been given, and that is what is happening.
Sure. You know, I am tempted to ask this question. I mean, I think I introduced that clause earlier, but I'll ask again. Of whose interest do you think this particular piece of legislation is? The people, as I asked in my intro, or the political elites in this country?
Laws are made for the people. No law is made for any set of group, because whatever group you belong, you are still the people of this country. And so whatever law is made, it's made to capture the interest of the people of this country.
Honorable? Do you think this is for the people, or because someone would look at you now, Honorable, and say, oh, you know what, I know, Honorable, I mean, they're just fighting for their party. They want to win the next election. That's why they're shouting. It's actually for the people. Who are you fighting for, really?
The
Is it the APC or the
We're
people of this
fighting
country?
for the people, and regardless who this bill is aimed at, we're going to make sure it come out in the best interest for the people. That I can guarantee our viewers and everybody around this country, that we represent their interests, and we will ensure this bill is a present focus by the time it come out. And you were there in the privilege. The AG did say this is just a beginning. There are many other bills that we expect to come in effect, and I want to assure the public that every single one of those will look at the lens from our people, because that's why we're there. We're representative of our people, not there to represent our views and opinions.
You know, according to the TLC and the Justice Cowan Committee, over-concentration of presidential power as well was a core cause of the conflicts in this country, the civil war we had. Yeah. And it disturbs me, actually. Why does this bill still shield the president from being sued? Why, Honorable Lansana?
Well, like we have the...
He's a public servant, you know.
Yes, but we have the supremacy of the law.
But he can sue. Why?
We have the supremacy of the law, and when he's in that office, we want to see how certain rights will be accorded to him. But that does not mean a crime committed while in that office could not be answerable for whilst you're out of the office. It just guides you during that time. But out of that time, you could be brought in to answer questions of whatever actions you've done that violates the rights of the people of this country.
Honorable, I mean, that's
Yeah. In the same spirit, as I said, when the Constitution was made, it wasn't aimed at a particular president. For example, say our president now, Madabio, it was done for all presidents. And that shield, I believe, had been given in good faith. While they carry on the burden of the country and doing what they're doing, they deserve to be given that privilege for that time. But again, like my colleague said, that is just justice being delayed. It's not to say you're not going to answer afterwards. Yeah. They will answer in due course. And again, if you are going to entrust in someone to make them a president, we would like to think they will live by good example. We would like to, and that is probably a cover you give them to ensure they're doing everything in their good faith.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
that is the spirit of the
like
Constitution.
Abdul said in the privilege, he said, if you think you are being covered today, by doing this, forever. Don't think you'll be covered forever. So that's just a line that runs for the president as well. If whatever he does now violate the rights of the people, don't think out of the people you will not be taken to the dock to answer to questions that you violate the rights of the people.
Yeah. Well, you're heartily welcome in case you're just joining us this evening. You're still watching AYV on Sunday on the Africa Young Voices Media Empire with me, Victor Jones. I've just been joined by Reverend James Lahai. Reverend is the National Coordinator for National Elections Watch New. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, and thank you for the invite.
Indeed, it's a pleasure. You met us discussing a very crucial issue in this country, our 1991 Constitution and the particular bill that has been tabled in Parliament. Have you in any way read through that particular piece? Have you been following?
I have been engaging with the process.
Okay. What are your views generally about it? And I'm sure you had had a sort of, snippet, a sneak peek into it. What are your views about this particular piece of legislation? The question is, do you think it serves better the people of this country or just the political elites and the parties in this country?
I think it's an opportunity, and we should profitably utilize the process, because on the side of government, they have made proposals and they have created a situation for people also to interact with their proposal and come out with recommendations, concerns, and statements. And I am happy at the privilege the Attorney General informed the public that what has gone to Parliament might not be the document that will be the final outcome. And because, according to him, all concerns, all statements, all recommendations that are coming after consideration will be given to those. And so if I can go by his words, I think it's good, because you can propose, you may think it's fine, But people may interrogate and come with very good ideas to make it better so that, I mean, it goes for the good of the country and not to put to advantage a category of people. So I go by his words and I take it as an opportunity for the 1991 Constitution to be looked at again, because the problem with the 1991 Constitution is that there are so many loopholes, and that leaves us, the people, very vulnerable, because especially when now everything has become partisan, the people who rely on to tell us about these laws, they all have very good arguments for every clause. And when they make their argument, you cannot argue it. And when the other side make their argument, you cannot argue it. So let's have a constitution that is clear, that is simple, that is direct, and it's not open to manipulation. And so if the Attorney General is saying that these amendments are going to be subject to what the people are going to say, we are looking to see. The only unfortunate thing is, just the other day, Parliament has started discussing those recommendations. But I still believe that is not enough for me to believe that they are not going to be sincere with the people of this country.
You know, I mean, from all of this, what is clear, Reverend, is that nothing is clear. I go back again to what I had actually asked my two, earlier guests, the honorables. You see, the Tripartite had recommended that the presidential candidate must secure 25%. I'm sure you've read through the Tripartite report. Vote cast in at least 4 districts. Now, the amendment that they have tabled in Parliament has actually reduced that from 25% to 20%.
But increase the number of districts, so don't leave that out. So fine.
Do you think it's a prudent decision? That's my question.
So in the first place, all what they are fighting to do is already taken care of by the provision of the 1991 Constitution.
Okay.
The 1991 Constitution provides that in the first round of elections, before you could be declared winner, you must have secured 55% of the valid votes cast. And what we should note, that looking at the voting pattern of our country, no two regions can come together and get 55%.
Sure.
No way. It's not possible.
Sure.
You must have to reach out to other regions for you to secure the 55%. So all what they are saying is, like, what's already there is what they want to create complexities around. And I think the government also want to have an advantage in that circumstance. Because when you look at the voting patterns, there's no way APC can get 2/3 get 20% in 2/3 of this country. SLPP has the potential to get that. APC does not. That's the same thing with when it comes to the issue of proportional representation and first past the post.
And you think that is fair? In the spirit of national unity?
No, it's not.
For which the Tripartite was born?
It's not. And that's why, in an earlier discussion I had with Liberty Online, I dubbed the Tripartite arrangement as a selfish one. Because this was an arrangement between the APC and the SLPP. Because when they say government and APC, but I know it's an SLPP-led government. And so anything that they feel is good for the two of them, they think it should be good for the rest of the country. And that's wrong. And that's wrong. That's why this process should now give an opportunity to the public to also interrogate those things that they had agreed on. But it is disappointing that still things are being micromanaged. I am using this on the basis of what has gone along the debates on whether we should have first past the post or proportional representation. Can I complete?
Finish up, please.
The government went out on regional consultation for the public to talk about whether what the country actually needs is first past the post or proportional representation. And I followed that process. I was at Poloko, I was at Makeni, I was at Kenema, I was in Bo, I was in Waterloo, and I was at the National Consultative Conference. Up to now, I have not been able to convince myself how government came by the decision that the people desire proportional representation over first past the post.
So in essence, you're saying they have lied. Both the government and those people who are the bunch of, professionals, they call themselves, who are the Tripartite committee.
I'm not talking about somebody lying.
But this is national criminality, don't you think?
Don't feed me with words.
I mean, that's the picture you're painting. What you were there, and all of the people said they wanted proportional representation. That's what you've said.
I just told you that I followed the entire process.
You did.
And that I am wondering where the government got the indication that the people of this country are saying that they want proportional representation as against first past the post. That's what I'm saying. Simple and straight. So I'm not saying anybody is lying.
Did not desire.
I'm not saying anybody is lying. Because
is that what you say?
Because
why did they say
because
that?
Why are you saying this?
Can I speak for myself?
You're part of the process, Governor.
I followed the process.
Let's
watch the semantics.
Okay.
I followed the process because I wanted to observe to see what was happening.
Okay.
So that any outcome, I will have an opportunity to also interrogate that outcome. And that's what I am doing now.
Okay. Go ahead.
At the National Consultative Dialogue that was held at Bintumani, there was this question of whether first past the post or proportional representation. And I will just take three categories of people and their presentation at that conference. And then let the public decide what they think the outcome of that consultative conference was. I'll take the paramount chiefs.
Okay.
Number one. The paramount chiefs in their presentation, their representatives said that they have authority and control over 90% of this country, and that their people respect them, and that their people believe in their leadership. And that category of people came out to say that they are against proportional representation because it's not representative of what the people desire. And not a single paramount chief of the 190 paramount chiefs made a disclaimer that they were not part of that decision. And then the All People's Congress Party, for the 2023 elections, according to the results announced by the Electoral Commission, they scored 41% of the valid votes cast. 41% of valid votes cast. And they came and said no to proportional representation, but rather they said first past the post. And then we have a civil society organization that I heard the secretariat the National Election Watch. We organized a national consultative dialogue, bringing civil society leadership from all districts in this country and stakeholders that are related with elections and elections-related activities. And at that conference, after all presentations that were made about the various types of electoral systems, we threw the question to the participants in the form of voting. Which would you prefer? And the appetite was in favor of first past the post, which had 57% of participants who voted. Proportional representation had the least, 10%. Even the hybrid, which was an idea that just came up at that conference, that is taking from first past the post, proportional representation, taking the good aspects and implementing, had more votes than the proportional representation. But then I saw the chief minister, I don't know if it was at AYV here, but at a television discussion telling us that the people are saying they want the proportional representation.
Let him prove that,
And he gave reasons why the people were giving that proportional representation is cheaper, there will be no by-elections. Tell me, compare the cost of removing the authority of people to decide who should govern them as against the cost of running by-elections. Which is more expensive? You are denying the people what the Constitution has granted unto them.
Who gave them the mandate?
Because even the preamble of the Constitution says the authority of governance rests with the people. And now you are removing it from them and you say it is cheap. So, I mean, what I want to say to this whole process is today in church, the preacher cited one verse, and I captured that. She said, she was a lady, she said, our people suffer because of lack of knowledge. And Sierra Leoneans, we are suffering because of lack of knowledge. We have very few people who are manipulating the rest of society using the issue of APC and SLPP. Last year, the finance minister went to parliament to present the finance, how do you call it?
Finance
bill.
Finance bill.
Huh?
The finance bill.
The finance bill. And people did not look at it as Sierra Leoneans. They looked at it as SLPP and APC. Few days ago, me, I'm lucky, I'll be just full up with tank. Before I reach my house, like they say, the fuel, it don't go 28, the fuel don't go 28,000. So you go and start talking about APC and SLPP, then go to the fuel station and see if they are going to sell to you on the basis of SLPP and APC. When that bill was there, we did not approach it as a nation. We looked at it as APC and SLPP. And so, because of lack of knowledge, we are suffering as Sierra Leoneans.
Honorable Bolivar, I really want to hear what you would say from this.
Yes.
I'm sure you yourself, you are disturbed by the analysis that Reverend has made, actually. It appears as though you have cheated the people of this country.
I am not disturbed at all, because
Haven't you cheated this country?
one thing Reverend has done
into
for...
believing that the people even chose proposal representation when they didn't in the
One
first place?
thing Reverend has done this evening is the fact that he wasn't here when I did the submission, and in his submission, he has just vindicated me that one, consultations were done. Because when I said it, there was that question as to whether consultations were done. And I said yes, because I followed the process and I knew consultations were done. He confirmed that.
But you've acted against the will
I'm
of
coming,
the people.
I'm coming. Let me first take the
That's
issues.
a big problem.
Let me first take the issues as they were presented. Like I said, he had vindicated me because he wasn't here when I presented the fact that
But that pales now in
consultations were
comparison
done.
to
The second thing in his submission he has not been able to answer is the fact that why do SLPP has the potential to get this percentage tells you SLPP is a country's party. Because the reality here is whatever law is crafted. No, let me finish.
No, you know,
whatever law is crafted,
whatever law is crafted. That you would, after all what Reverend has analyzed,
I am coming.
You are more concerned about winning an election.
No, I am coming.
You're talking about the country.
That is what I'm doing.
You're talking about undue advantage.
Like I
of
said,
winning an election.
like I said,
over the will of the people.
in
When
his-
Reverend has taken his time to analyze this.
that is the same time I am looking at the issue he raised. And one of the issues he raised was the fact that out of the percentage reduction, the current government is doing that because they have the potential to win election. That was his analysis, not mine.
No, to win
what
the
I'm saying,
two-thirds.
what I'm saying is, why do SLPP get that potential to win the election as he submitted, and not other political
You
parties?
know, I'm not sure
But
the
laws-
people know
can I-
that
laws are
can I
made-
interject?
Party
laws are
Can I-
made,
can I
laws are made
interject?
for all.
Okay.
Laws are
You
not
don't
made
allow me to
for
finish quickly,
yes,
Reverend.
yes.
I'll come
Laws
to you
are
in a
made for
jiffy.
all and not a body. In your introduction, you were reading or presenting recommendations.
The
and
historicity
fine.
of the
and out of
TRC.
this historicity of the TRC, one thing that came out clearly was the fact that CLU needs to practice the proportional representation. It tells you that that is not something
Who
that
said so?
in the recommendations that you read
Was it the
from the
people who chose
TRC.
it? That's the question.
The TRC again was done out of consultation. That document was not just crafted in the corner by few people. No, it was also crafted from consultation done. What needs to happen at this time is the fact that we need to accept what is called modernization. People we are not used to computer
Do
does
you
not
think
mean
forced
does not mean
it's not a modernized way of winning an election? Is that
like
what
I
you're
said,
saying?
I'm not saying it's not a modernized way.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, let us try to test other form of elections and see what benefits will they give to us as a country. Because what matters most is the fact that we need a peaceful country, and that's what we want to see.
Flipped, I mean, if the coins were tossed from the bottom up, upside down, let's say you were at the opposition now, or on the opposition in this country, would you have accepted what the APC would present to you naturally? I mean, giving them an undue advantage to win an election just because of the system you chose?
The
Wouldn't
limitations,
you have grumbled? Wouldn't you have shouted?
limitations
Wouldn't
we
you
have
have
done-
screamed at the top of your voice?
the limitations we are done in this country, 20 seats we are added out of the seats we have in
Now,
the
wouldn't you
parliament.
have screamed
No,
at the
I
top
am
of your
just
voice
saying
still?
the limitations we are done, we screamed out of the highest of our voices, yet 20 seats we are added purely in Western area. We
Would you
accepted
agree
the
with someone
election.
if they said to you,
Yes, it was 112 to
Hold on,
132.
Let me
That
ask
means
you
20
this
seats came.
critical question before I go over to Reverend again. If someone said to you that the APC and the SLPP were the cancers of this country, would you accept or not?
And that is why a new
Would you
law,
accept or not that
Like
you
I
were
said,
the dangerous people of this country?
that has been the
It
debate.
appears as though that what
that
you
has been the
discuss in these
debate.
parties
What
are
I'm saying,
self-centered.
that has been the debate.
There
That
are
is
things
why.
that only benefit you, the political people.
That is
not
why.
the people
That
of
is
the
why this
country.
recommendation is now capturing an independent president because
Independent?
Yes.
You say?
Yes, an
Even
independent.
when the will of the people is not captured?
Like what I'm
you
saying.
call that independent?
An independent president
Yeah,
to
ability.
answer.
Let me just analyze what Reverend has just said.
Jones, I just want to answer the
Civil
question you
society
dropped.
voted. They asked the paramount chiefs. All of them refuted accepting the proportional representation. All of them blatantly so. I mean, it was a particular inquiry that was led by New. You heard from Reverend. They voted on it.
Like I said, I don't want
None
to.
of them accepted
I don't
it.
want to put a question mark on New, but we know what New has
And
done in this
for
country
you to even
that has
say
resulted
the
to
people of
different
this
form of
country
debates in this
decided
country.
that they wanted a proposal representation is highly
Like I said,
dishonest, don't you think? so?
Reports from New has always been something questioned in this country. So I don't want to
Who
delve
said so?
into that because it was New that almost
Are
wanted.
you saying that
it was new that
what
almost
new
wanted.
does is questionable?
Like I said, it was new that almost set this
Are you saying
country
that what
ablaze.
new does is
It was
questionable?
new that almost set these countries ablaze.
In what
because
way?
the power of election result announcement vests wholly and solely on NEC. But while we were waiting for NEC, new in their report said this election has a room for what? Runoff.
Moderator,
And when at the end of the
Let
day,
me hear from
when,
Reverend,
no,
because
let me
these are
land.
allegations
Let
against
me land. When at the end of the day that never happened, we saw what happens
That's
at
what
the
you
end
feel,
of the day.
because the very results you are quoting are still in dispute. Even international
Well,
communities
that is
have said
that is why I
they are
said
largely rigged.
that is why I said
the
these
honorable
reports have been a
Please,
problem.
Can the honorable
let's
allow me?
Reverend.
Can the
Reverend, please.
honorable allow me to educate him and the
Go ahead.
public on what he is saying?
Go ahead, Reverend.
Because he does not seem to really know what he is saying. Before we observe elections as National Election Watch, or even before we start relating with electoral processes, we engage the Electoral Commission Sierra Leone and develop a memorandum of understanding so that the Electoral Commission is aware of what our interventions would be like, how we will relate to the process, what our do's and do nots are. That is the basis. After that, we develop a strategy that we will use to relate with the electoral process. And in that strategy, we outline all the activities that we will be undertaking. And that strategy, when we are launching it, it was the Electoral Commission and the chairman who was represented by the Commissioner for Eastern Region who launched our strategy at Brookfields Hotel. And that strategy outlined exactly how we are going to handle the observation, the activities that we are going to undertake. For the honorable member of parliament to talk to the public here that news reports had always been a controversy is a disappointment. Because in 2018, everything that new did in 2023 was done in 2018 that brought the SLPP into power. And when the flag bearer then, Mr. Bio, was accosted by the security forces at his house, when he was talking to the public, he mentioned NEW, that NEW was doing this process to capture what the results would be, and that was what they were actually doing. It was never a bad thing at that time.
2023.
And after the first round of elections, when the All People's Congress were on the streets celebrating that they have won a clear win, and the SLPP too were on the streets celebrating that they have won clear, and we saw as new that the situation was degenerating into chaos, we published our data, which at that time showed that no one single person has scored the 55% threshold to say that they have won the elections. But they knew, what political parties knew, but they wanted to confuse the public and create mayhem. But when we came out with our report, all of them went back to the drawing board and started to prepare for the elections. Even though the APC also tried another angle by putting a single High Court judge, put an injunction on the activities of the Electoral Commission. On the weekend, after everything has been done, so that nothing can take place. National Election Watch also mounted advocacy to make sure that that injunction was vacated so that the Electoral Commission should continue with the runoff electoral activities and the processes. It was very good for the SLPP that time. Today, the SLPP is castigating National Election Watch for that same process that they benefited from. And I look at them and I say, these ones, they are following the pattern of APC. They are doing things believing that they will ever remain in power. And those things that you are putting in place are the things, if you lose election and the APC comes, that they will be using against you, just as you are using their laws against them now. Why can't you put laws
that will just benefit
that will be best for this country? You do not do that. And the public becomes the vulnerable people, because the intent was never for the interest of the national. It was partisan. So when this case go against these ones, if they lose power, we will be their best friends. Now, yes.
Okay. What if, let's flip the coin upside down again. What if the SLP is right?
If
That all of these things that have enshrined in this amendment bill will actually benefit this country, and it is the things that will unify this country.
We have to weigh it on the basis of the merit. We don't just have to accept.
Okay.
Now they are talking that the public wants proportional representation. But the processes that they undertook did not speak that as far as the public was concerned. So that's a red flag. That's a red flag. You are saying the people desire proportional representation, but in all your consultations, there was not in any instance where that was established. In Waterloo, it was a big split between proportional representation and first past the post. In Port Loko, it was the same. In Makeni, it was the same. In Kenema, it was the same. In Bo, it was the same. In Freetown, it was different. Because those who actually came to talk about, say it has to be proportional representation, was the SLPP itself. And some of the groups that has no business in election, that we are called so that there will be numbers. But when you look at numbers, the numbers should not be individuals. It must be actually representative of groups, institutions, and credible people. I mean, I think that thing was recorded. So if AYV can lay hands on that and play it for the public, that will be very good.
It's something we will look for, actually.
Yes, you have to.
We're interested in that.
Because
we'll surely play that so that people
for
see
us
exactly.
at National Election Watch, we believe this process is an opportunity we must not miss out on. If we miss out on this, when again? At least there was a bad election in 2023. Out of that bad election, the government and the APC, they came together with the intervention of goodwill people pioneered by our Peace Commission, and that they came together and agreed on a national peace agreement and national cohesion. I think it was 8. And we are just talking about the 3rd, which was setting up a cross-party committee that now became known as the Tripartite Committee. And this committee sat and met. But I told you initially that everything about that Tripartite Committee was a selfish arrangement. You know, because what actually got them to the table to sit and discuss was the contest against the results of the 2023 elections. When you look at all the 8 recommendations, there is nothing there about those elections, those results that are contested. There is nothing there about issues of accountability. Let's see, okay, yeah, it's there, but as an annex. Because the SLPP did not accept it, and the APC was insistent on it, they had a consensus that it will not be in the body of recommendations, but it will be an annex. This was the burning issue, and it is this issue that brought them to the table. Why did they not interrogate that? Those who actually caused this problem, they are still there, and they are still managing our electoral process. And in fact, they are now so bold that they feel they can push away credible voices from their process. Yes.
I want to come into that, Victor.
They say now let me tell you, from that time to this point that I am speaking, the Electoral Commission has not attended our programs even when we invite them to attend.
Why?
Ask them. I mean, you are a journalist. Throw that question to them. They have deleted us on all their programs and all their activities. And let me tell you the latest development. Paramount chieftaincy election was going on. As far as we know, there had never been a situation where observers are accredited to observe Paramount chieftaincy election, because that's a community activity. It's community people that participate, and the observers we recruit belong to the communities where these activities are taking place. Our observers were asked out. They say they did not have accreditation. Who had an accreditation that was there? And the public is seeing these things. They are not saying anything. They are waiting until when nothing again can be done with that. Those who are now commissioners at the ECSL don't own ECSL. ECSL is a state institution meant to manage electoral processes in the best interest of this country, making sure that there's inclusivity, there's transparency, there's accountability, and now they have become bold because they made it in 2023. They were never called to book. So that has emboldened them to decide that an institution that had followed electoral processes from 2002, a local initiative that has survived up to 2023, now they say it cannot be part of the electoral processes. And you, the journalists, are not taking that seriously. And by the time you start to look at it that it's a problem, the country is doomed.
The OIV, personally, we've been doing a lot of interview series around these issues. The very honorables seated here, I'm not sure for Honorable Muniru though, but Honorable Aminata has been here several times, and we've been discussing all of these issues, you know, so we're taking this seriously. But OIV is not the only station in Sierra Leone. There are other journalists,
one of the biggest,
you know, in the country. They're doing their own part. We are playing our part now. But let me just hear from you, Honorable. I mean, you wanted to say something, though.
Thank you very much, Reverend. You touched on a very sensitive area just now. During the privilege, you came in late, unfortunately. But while the privilege was going on, Marcela Samba came to the door. And for some reason, she was stopped.
Marcela was stopped
by the door of entering the legislative committee on this bill. If she was here, she can testify. And there were a lot of people in the room. Fortunately for me, I was sitting by the door. And I saw her outside, wearing a yellow sort of top and bottom. And I'm looking at the room thinking, there are empty seats. So what could be the reason for stopping her by the door? So I actually got up and went to the security and said, why is she being held outside? She said to me, oh, the place is full. We've been to, I said, there's a seat for her. And even if I have to get up, these are the people that should be in here. So I brought her in. I mean, we can sit in our comfortable houses, in our studios, and think we're not in a problem already. We're in a mess. Just like Reverend said, the tripartite is just a pinch of everything that happened around 2023.
You criticized, too, the APC for being part of this mess. Because, I mean, you could have said something.
We have, but every time...
You've gone against the people's will in the tripartite, for example.
Yeah.
Gone against the people's will that were introduced into the tripartite recommendation.
Name one.
For
Which
instance,
one would you say?
The particular instrument that we are to use for our elections, the first part of the post, wasn't taken.
It was taken. It was debated on the recommendation of 78. Because the both parties could not agree. No, it clearly said there should be a national conversation to decide on first past superior. Because let me tell you, like we said, the people who are representing...
to money, in
no,
fact.
It could not have, because they tried. The APC brought it on, the SRPP did not agree, so we leave it to the people, which is why a referendum is needed now more than ever.
Which people? The people clearly from the government's analysis did not...
Well, if so, then the advice should be that we should listen to that. We're not too late. The people are now saying, for one, I can say for my constituents, the majority of them want first past the post.
Have you ever asked them?
Of course. Every meeting we're having now has to be about this bill as well. We're talking about this and throwing the question. And fortunately, I was in Port Loco as well when they went there as a region to engage. Okay. The people clearly say they want first past the post. And this question was raised to the AG in the privilege. He said he has no idea of what the Reverend just said, that the paramount chiefs had said that, or the APC had said that. He has no paper in front of him.
Was the AG even involved in all of these regional tours? He
wasn't in every one of them, but I would like to think he was updated or informed of the outcome.
What if the people who were updating the AG had said something contrary to what had been happening?
That is why we now have the room to request for a referendum to be done. I have assured you earlier, I'm not going to sit here and say...
The Chief Minister said that the government doesn't have money to spend on referendum.
They will have to have money. If they don't have money, then they are not fit to be a government. Like the Reverend said earlier, and I was saying the same thing. I said it yesterday on Radio Democracy. If you are saying it's expensive to do a referendum and get the people's vote, who gave you the mandate to be a government in the first place, then dissolve your government. Hand over to somebody who can. Because I want to assure this public that we will ensure that we have a referendum and have their opinion. For me, this is honestly just a tip of the iceberg. But what I like about this bill is the fact that it is going to open the door for people to have their voice heard.
In what way?
That is what I look forward to.
When you've already muzzled the voice of the people?
We haven't.
In what particular
We haven't. The people's voice are going to be heard. Let me say, the people's voice are going to be heard through us for a start.
Who?
But also, we the MPs. We've been speaking on behalf of them.
Okay.
I can definitely say we're representative of the people. And this is why we're saying the PR is not good for us as a country. The PR doesn't represent. The people are not directly electing. If you're asking a whole district to choose people that you've categorized as a party on numbers, which those people who are voting at the time do not even know which number their MP for or how you've arranged your numbers, there's a discord there. You're asking them to choose a representative, where you as a party is making a list of who you want to represent where.
You know, the problem
what is the essence in that?
It's not even you or the Reverend, Honorable Neil here.
Yeah.
It's about the country generally. Now, we had several reports, particularly, Afrobarometer from last year, round 10 survey, that accused the parliament of corruption in the first place. And people do not trust you, the very MPs these days. That's a big problem.
But they are still elected.
Can you actually serve the people's interest in this country?
Yes, we've always done. We've always done. Let me tell you, the problem we have as a parliament with the people, I think most time there's so much misunderstanding.
You think so?
Thinking that we have yes, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, which is why we've asked Speaker that we have to remove parliament, not just within the parliament. We have to be going out and educating our people. Reverend said this earlier. The lack of education is a big problem in Sierra Leone. We cannot leave that out. The people are not well informed. They are not as informed as we want them to inform.
Now, why can't you
This is why we're doing the engagement again and again.
It's your duty, don't you think so?
That's what we're doing. But are we enough? You have 154 MPs, not enough to educate the whole of Salon. We're doing that.
How many MPs does
the APC alone? We have 85 and 14.
Are you saying 85 is not enough?
No, not us. We don't have 85. I'm calculating how much they said. Okay. We have 54.
54?
Or now 52, yes. Because
so
two of them are standing on their own. So we're doing that. In our way, that's why I said to you, 52 people. Again, you need to follow us and see what we're doing. Instead of sitting there and say Parliament is corrupt, there may have been corrupt elements in the administrative part. But in terms of representing, no. I'm going to say to you clearly, no, and that's going to be proven by this bill.
You think so?
Yes.
You know, from the history of this country, in most cases, when a bill goes to Parliament, it is only the ruling side that always trumps at the end of the day.
Not in this one, because this one is going to require a vote, yes.
First of all, you understand that the Assembly has more
one.
MPs than you are.
Yes, but they don't have enough to pass this bill. This bill is going to need 2/3 of members of Parliament, not 2/3 present, as we had in the Speaker.
They constantly watched when you debated the previous Auditor General's issue in Parliament.
Yes.
But the same 2/3, you shouted all over the place. At the end of the day, they removed the lady. We all saw, we watched helplessly. This
and that was an unfortunate
incident. Let me tell you, that is one of the reasons why people have criticized the Parliament up to this day.
Yes.
That you
and I can understand. I can understand, Victor. I'll be naive to sit here and say I wasn't disappointed. If the people were disappointed, I was disappointed 100-fold. Because I was one of the MPs, even on the morning of that vote, when we stand to talk to each other, to encourage each other, to man up and do not allow it. I was one that said, I don't even think we need this talk. We all know where we stand as MPs, and we know where we stand as our party position. But also as individual, we all know this was not called for. But anyway, in every room, you're going to have some bad apples. In this case, we did have some that fall short. Okay. But that is not enough to cast the whole basket. You know, what I'm saying to Sierra Leoneans is to give us the opportunity once again to prove ourselves.
This is not a place to campaign, Honorable. You're not campaigning now.
I am, yes.
I'm talking
I want them to watch how we're going to look at this bill.
You talk about elections and winning elections.
No, I did not say election. How we're going to vote on this bill.
How are you going to give you the chance? You said people of the country should give you the chance.
They're going to watch how we vote. He just talked about the votes, how the votes went for the Auditor General. And that made a lot of
confidence in us. That if you started stopping people from entering legislative committee hearings.
Not me. And I don't know who did that.
They say you, but you're part of the Parliament, Honourable.
Yes, but when I saw that, we collected that. I don't know the reason for them being stopped. But hearing what Reverend has just said, now clearly there's a mismatch between them and the ruling government.
That Marcela Samba was stopped from entering that particular room.
If she was there today, she can prove that. She wasn't the only one. She was stopped. She was told the room is full.
Because if anybody has experience in the electoral processes,
because eventually she came in and she had a seat, she sat and I sat, so definitely there was room for her.
Honourable Muriba has been quite silent. Let me hear from you. I mean, you've listened to the debate. It's running heated in the studio. What do you have to say at this point? I mean, I'm sure you've listened keenly to Reverend.
I just want to make one more point, please, Nuri. This is where, when we started, when I say to you, this is our concern. It's not how many times we're sitting with the government. And them being the present government, sitting government, we expect them to be the fathers, the leading in every negotiation we're doing to make sure. If you watch the recommendation here on 80, he put it back to them to ensure that the government of Sierra Leone to honor these recommendations. But rather than honoring them, it says the final agreement to be implemented by the government of Sierra Leone. This put that burden on them to ensure that whatever has been agreed on here.
But that's what they're doing at the moment.
That's not what they're doing. That is not what they're doing, because they're tearing this apart, choosing what's convenient to them. I gave you an example of the recommendation 20. As simple as that. Setting up a committee in Parliament to overlook this process. How hard can that be?
Honourable Muniru, let me hear from you.
That has not been followed, and many others.
Like Aminata was saying, on that day, a lot of other people were out, and the reason was because they came late, and so they could not usher them in at that moment since the discussion was tense. But let's leave that for another day, because like she said, she did what she could do, and the lady, the woman was granted access to enter. What matters here is the fact that I've listened to Reverend, and he had made a claim on NEC not allowing them, and because we all know the mandate of NEC. The mandate of NEC is to conduct and announce election results. And so if any institution or body attempt taking that from them, I do believe you're going to be at par. That one is a clear judgment that nobody compromises it. It's like you compromising the powers of the president. And once you do that, you are going to have a problem with the president.
NEC is not
because let me come. I made the analysis on two fronts. Like New did their election observation, and their findings was just for 700 polling stations out of 11,000. So if at the end of the day they could bring in their judgment on that, I do believe they will have some reservations with NEC. That one, NEC can come and answer on that line. I will not bother myself with it. And the other aspect, that my sister mentioned, I know she's going through the ESO. The ESO is clear on how the 2/3 is calculated when it comes to voting. It is on the current present MPs within the House.
Not for this one.
The SO is clear, okay? So when it comes to this debate of how the two-third is mentioned,
no, I think you're missing
there's always
this
a
one
room.
clearly says two-thirds of members of
That's
parliament.
what I'm saying. How is the two-third calculated is what I'm
Members of
explaining.
parliament, not members of parliament.
That is what I'm saying. The two-third is calculated on members of parliament in the well on a particular issue. Because there's no possibility for us to have a sitting with all 132 MPs and that of the parliament chief. There has never
Not possible for you to have two-thirds.
Even
when all of the parliamentarians are not present.
That is why the SO is clear that
what?
it's the current member sitting on the debate.
Does this bill say that? Let me just read it again.
Like I said,
Does it
the
say
two-third majority.
yes?
How do you
Does it say
capture?
two-third majority?
What I'm saying, this bill does not like capture that because when it will just say two-third.
Okay.
But how is the two-third captured? Is what I'm saying.
No.
It is captured on the current member sitting on the day of a deliberation.
No.
Fine,
No.
not on the holistic because, like even in the swearing-in day, there has always been an occurrence where every MP will not be present. So that one is an assignment for another day. Like she said, on the Auditor General's issue, that was the ruling, and that was what occurred, and that was what happens. So it's like a precedent. In the court system, the president always takes what is the process. And the other issue, like a lot of good things are in this amendment.
Right.
But people, for instance, the 30% quota, they've done the Jury Act, they've done the Public Elections Act. All these acts gave percentage to women, but those percentages were not factored in what? In the 1991 Constitution. So this amendment is saying, let us don't have a crafty lawyer that will just go to court on an issue where this issue will come up, and then we use the Constitution as a benchmark. So let's see how we could bring that in. That one is now captured, the 30%. Another good thing that this amendment is capturing is with regards to what we've been seeing in this country when it comes to like, for instance, we take Samura Kamara as a case study. While we are going to an election, he was still facing trial. This amendment is now saying every political candidate that is facing trial, that trial has to be stopped 1 year to your election, so that at least nobody will see around you that it's a witch hunting or they want to bar you from contesting. That is another good thing that this bill is talking. In fact, what this bill is also proposing is the fact that even where somebody has been found wanting for a crime committed, you've served your sentence, this bill is also giving you room for what we call reintegration. What do we mean by reintegration? You've served your term, you've come back to society, you spend the 5 years. After that 5 years, you could be reintegrated and you have that leeway. Before this time, the 1991 Constitution was a total debar on you. Once you have been convicted, you come no more. And let's say we now call our prison correctional center. That person has been corrected and has been ratified. He has been cleaned in terms of mind and thought. How could you bar that person forever? This bill is coming to ensure those things are now something of the past. And the other thing this bill is capturing again that is very good for this country is where this aspect of giving right to other Sierra Leoneans out there. Now, if you look at the recommendations, the tripartite recommendations, yes, that is one, and not only voting, amendment of Section 76, amendment of Section 76 has also now captured when it comes to appointment for Sierra Leonean diasporans to be appointed as ministers and other government entity. So that is also another good thing of this bill. Let us don't use the proportional representation or percentage for election as just the key factor.
But don't you think that particular thing you are avoiding is perhaps the most crucial thing in this particular piece of
That is what I'm saying. But that is why Parliament now has the document, and it is a veto of Parliament to see what is best for this country.
From a very honest perspective, Honorable, let me ask you this. Do you think, in good sense, that this very Parliament will ever vote against something that does not go in line with the ruling party in Parliament?
No.
I think it's possible.
There has
not
been,
even from your party now, previous government before yours.
That's what I'm saying. There has been instances.
It has never been the case.
We've seen in this country where Pakaba nominated somebody to become a minister. Parliament rejected that person, having done inquiry on him and discovered that XYZ was not correct for this person. So it tells you Parliament has...
Do you think Pakaba's tendency will get picked up
like my sister mentioned, Parliament is an institution. We have the members of Parliament, which is one set, and we have the Parliamentary Service Commission, which is another set. And people do mix these two things, judging the MPs on the Parliamentary Service Commission. That is a disadvantage to us, because when you look at the members of Parliament, they are representing the people. So whatever, like most time I see the argument where people are saying the people are not consulted. Then why are MPs in Parliament for the first place? Because the MPs there is to ensure that margin where you have to go down is limited to the people representation.
So these conversations we're talking about,
But this one, they were done by
by the
nationals.
AG.
Like
the views of the people.
Like I said in the initial point, things were not in existence before now. What needs to happen is more education, because what has been taken to the people is the fact that proportional representation is taking away representation from them.
Which town are you coming from, Honorable?
I am from Freetown, but
okay, you're okay.
Yes, I'm from Freetown.
Okay.
Like I said, the proportional representation.
I just wanted to ask whether indeed you were a part of the deliberations when the AG went to your area, and what did the people say?
In Freetown, I was there.
Like, you were there. What did they say while you were there?
The consultations were done and different views we are giving.
Okay.
And those views will now be collated, and it is what informed this document. Like I said, if somebody gets up and say, I need this, and the other person said, I need this, what happens at the end of the day is what is best for the country. That is the focus. That's
Are
the
you
primary.
saying it is the AG and his team that decided now what is best for this country?
Like, drafting is just one stage. It is back to the people, because they drafted
By the people, you mean Parliament?
Parliament. Because
And do you think you will do justice to this thing?
that is why the document is there now. And a reverend made it clear in the AG submission. He said, what you have seen coming to Parliament might not be the same thing you will see live in Parliament. Reverend made that clear, and I do believe we are here taking on points that are highlighted, because at the end of the day, it boils around Parliament to ensure the people are being represented fully, by ensuring that whatever comes out at the end of the day reflects the good for this country and not individual. Because when we talk about laws are not made for just individuals. Like the discussion is going, whatever is being enacted today might be used tomorrow by either of us. It can be used by APC, it can be used by SLPP. Because laws like Falaba and Kerina were new districts that came to existence. But today, SLPP is proudly enjoying those districts. We get the highest representation and the likes. So it tells you that when laws are made, they are not made for one party. And that is why whatever we are doing as lawmakers, as people of this country, we must ensure it becomes the good for the general populace and not for a single set of individuals.
When I listen to the honorable members of Parliament represented here, I believe there is need for education. Not only for the people, but for even our members of Parliament. I listened to the honorable member of Parliament representing the SLPP say that they just gave another 20 members of Parliament, and most of them were from the Western region. That tells me he does not even know how that happens. Because for any succeeding parliament, the Electoral Commission will write to the existing parliament, requesting what number of parliamentarians they would want for the succeeding parliament. That letter is written to the clerk of parliament. There's nothing there to indicate what process is involved in giving that number. And when that number is communicated to the Electoral Commission, the Electoral Commission now looks at the most recent statistics, Sierra Leone
And that is
figures.
That is where it hinges.
Statistics, Sierra Leone figures, or any other figures that the Electoral Commission feels represents most accurately what the population dynamics of the country is. That is what the law gives the Electoral Commission. And so when the Electoral Commission agrees on that for 2018, they used the 2015 population census, population and housing census. For 2023, the Electoral Commission felt the midterm census was not adequate. And so they decided they would use the 2015, the 2021, and have an average of that, and that they will go with that figure. It is that figure that determines the allocation of seats of members of parliament that has been communicated to them by parliament. If it is 132, if it is 132, they now look at what is the population of the country. And now they divide the population of the country by the 132. It gives a figure. That figure is what they use to determine if it is first past the post, how many people would compose a constituency. And when they go now to, when they now allocate to districts by that formula, they now also have another formula. For example, if they say Western area will have 20, they will now go back to another formula that determines how is that 20 distributed in the Western area. So this is not about an issue like they will say R20. So Electoral Commission just distribute the 20 as you desire. No.
No, but you just said it here. They asked the parliament, and the parliament gave them
formula.
Number.
If you are following what I am saying,
yeah.
If you are following what I am saying,
Yeah.
Before the Electoral Commission determines how many seats go to a district,
The clerk.
they write to the clerk of parliament to say, this parliament will be dissolving. Another parliament will be elected. How many people do you want as ordinary members of parliament? That does not include the paramount chiefs who are there. And parliament will then communicate to the Electoral Commission to say, for the next parliament, whatever formula they have or whatever process they go through, the law does not say anything about that. The only issue here is parliament will provide that number. And when parliament provides that number, the Electoral Commission now fits that into the formula relating with the population of the country to distribute that number that the parliament has given, so that you now have from that number how many Poloko will have, how many Makeni will have, how many Kailan will have, how many Pujen will have, and all will be on the basis of the population of those places, because it is population that determines how you distribute. Even when it is the proportional representation, they will take the district population and relate it to the national population and the number of parliamentary seats available to determine how much Kenema will have, how much Western area will have, and that kind of thing. So it's structural. And let's know that even in this parliament, when it is approaching to 2028 rather, the Electoral Commission will write them to say, how many members of parliament would you want for 2028 parliament? Whatever process they would go through, it's not the business of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission now looks forward to that number. When they give them that number, it is that number that they will use in the formula that is already set by the Public Elections Act to determine, based on the population that the Electoral Commission deems to be very accurate or representative of what the actual population of the country is, to do the mathematics and determine. And even when they are distributing now at the district level, you have remainders, so how come the highest remainder and that kind of thing. So, but let me come to the issue of, I just wanted to give an education on that, because I realized the honorable member really does not know how that thing happens.
No, we know.
So now let me come to the topics of discussion. The amendments that are going on, we have to be sincere, my brother. This country is the only country that we have. Let us not take it that we have the authority, it is us, and how we want it to be, that's how it will happen. That's provocative. That's provocative. And that is a threat to peace. It's a threat to peace.
What if they're doing the opposite?
We thank God for 2023 because the president, in his wisdom, had to bend back and allow the government to sit with the APC to negotiate after he had been declared the winner of that election. There's nowhere in our constitution that is telling us that if you have been declared the winner, you should go and sit with the one who did not win to talk about what will be good for the country. So that's where I commend the president to have bent back and allow the tripartite committee and their
You think the
discussions.
president that bent back?
And their, of course.
No, no, but allow him to make
Of course. If the president had said, even with the intervention of the Peace Commission and the Commonwealth and all this, the president has said, I have been declared the winner. I'm not going to allow this. What are you going to do? Nothing. Nothing. But then, that was going to be a threat. Mind you, the opposition had already boycotted governance for I think 3 months. 3 months. That's not
5 months.
That's not a very good signal. And if you are a leader, you would see the indications. And I'm happy he saw it and had to subdue himself to that process. That is why, moving this process forward, I have listened to the president on 2 occasions at very close range when he was saying that he does not want to leave this country in a status where election outcomes are a cause of quarrel. He wants a situation whereby when election results are announced, they are accepted by everybody because of how the process was managed. But those people who have been given responsibilities are taking on their own assignments, deviating from the spirit of what the president said. Except if the president is saying one thing to the public and going back to those people he has appointed to say, that then will be public show, when I do it this way. And I'm not expecting him to be that low, to be that little. I'm not expecting him to be that. Example, the Electoral Commission, their action almost threw this country into chaos, but for God's grace. And now, they have been emboldened because they have not been called to account to even begin to exclude very pertinent stakeholders that have been contributing meaningfully to electoral processes in this country, like National Election Watch. So what are they doing this for? They should not be called to book. They should be praising. Even when they do the wrong thing, they should be praising. And now they are creating all stakeholder groups, like they did for 2023. And we had election observer groups coming in floods. And their report was, the election was free and fair. Nothing beyond that. How was the election free and fair?
No status.
There is nothing to indicate that. All their purpose was, after the election, when National Election Watch will come out with their report, you just say the election was free and fair. And there are scores of them. And we have now seen them. Some have been elected into executive positions of the SLPP party. Some had to quarrel or openly discuss in social media that they worked for the party, but now they are not benefiting anything, you know, on social media. So that tells you, and that's why the Electoral Commission should be very careful. The thing they are doing is almost tantamount to digging their own graves. They think it is in their own interest, but when it goes at miss, it's going to be something they will regret forever in their life.
Again, looking at the entire situation, I know, I mean, Muniru and they've analyzed, I mean, a few minutes ago, they were arguing basically about, I mean, what 2/3, you know, in structure, you know, means in Parliament, whatever the case. But when you look at the situation, do you think we'll end up having a referendum?
Sure.
If they couldn't achieve a 2/3 majority.
Referendum hinges on constitutional amendments that are entrenched, entrenched clauses. So if anything they are amending now falls under that category, it must go back to the public. It will not rest with the 2/3 of Parliament. It will go to the public for an opinion at a referendum. That I know, except if they want to flout the Constitution that they have vowed an oath to defend. But as long as it hinges on as long as it hinges on that aspect of the Constitution, the people must have a say.
Okay.
And I'm not even seeing or having information like that. And some of these things that are being discussed are entrenched clauses in the Constitution.
85 and 87,
Are entrenched clauses in the Constitution. But nobody is telling us whether for those ones to be amended, there will be a referendum. At least that is not in the public domain for now. But of course, even the tripartite recommendations, even all what has been done, these are for the elites. The actual people, even in the Western area, communities, they are not aware of these things. They don't know. If Honorable Muniru actually followed those regional consultations, and if Honorable Aminata also followed, they will agree with me that the people, most of them, that was their first time to hear of tripartite. Some of them even think that tripartite is an institution. Yes. People are not educated.
Okay.
People are not educated.
That's again is
And you will see, because people, when they wanted to micromanage, you will see people would come to say, we want proportional representation, and they will give arguments that are purely first past the post.
Okay.
Imagine somebody saying, we prefer proportional representation because we want our people to determine who will be their representative, which is a component of first past the post, but then advocating for proportional representation.
Right.
Proportional representation does not countenance communities in determining who should be their representative.
Representative is a pattern.
But then, the argument that is being proffered is that you have various types of proportional representation. So why can't you put those various types in the Constitution?
Right.
So we are clear that this type of proportional representation they are talking about, it is going to make sure that it is the people that will determine.
Right, Reverend.
How will you leave it to just those who will be deciding?
All right. Reverend, thank you so much for the analysis. Let's now hear from Emmanuel Nyakemamo, lead producer, to read some of the messages that you've sent on our Facebook page. Good evening, Emmanuel. Welcome.
Good evening, Victor Jones. We go straight into the inbox for tonight. Tommy Thomas Butcher says SLPP has more political base than APC, and SLPP is making good inroad in APC's stronghold. For the APC, they need to make inroads in SLPP's stronghold. Swissman says our political system has been misguided since the days of our forefathers, and we still continue with the same drama. So much testimony with no proper solution, consistent electoral malpractices, underdevelopment, abuse of office, corruption, and injustice. When are we going to accept changes, and when are we going to take responsibility for our mistakes so that Sierra Leone will be a better place for our children yet unborn? These political parties are criticizing each other's effort. Mystic from Dwazak says consultation is key in political space, especially a consultation that is reflective on all. Political parties should ensure they have a close dialogue in any review or implementation process so that it can reflect on the ordinary Sierra Leoneans and strengthens our democracy, which is still fragile, despite the fact that we have made some gains over the years. Swissman says, Reverend, we are not suffering because of lack of knowledge, but we are suffering because of selfishness and greed. Hussam Conte says, we dey suffer, all because of chronic badat for we serve na the country. Aruna Davis says, not everyone knows that you can bring a constitutional matter against the president, even some lawyers. Mystic again says, as a nation, we should not review a constitution with a political mindset or short-term political gain. A constitution must be able to stand the test of time, reflect democratic principles, and avoid despotic tendencies. Otherwise, it may eventually harm even those who manipulate it. Hobson says, I like this Reverend, his presentation and representation. They are always neutral. May God bless him for his independent stance in all his analysis right across various media platforms. That's a compliment for you, Reverend. And Mohammed Kroma says, new used 700 stations out of over 11,000 polling stations to determine the outcome of the 2023 elections. That was dangerous and a statistical mismatch, according to Mohammed. The last we can take is from Gerald Anthony Fudi. It says the Constitutional Amendment Bill has a lot of concerns from many other Sierra Leoneans, as they don't have the money to conduct a referendum, and it will also affect dates of the election in 2028. In my candid opinion, let's forget about the amendment at this time, because it's so late for the government to embark on a review that will be inclusive and people-centered. The spirit of reviewing a constitution should be in line with the goodwill of Sierra Leoneans. Victor Jones.
Thank you very much indeed, Nyako. We have 2 minutes to round off. I'll start with you, Reverend. Why not all 11,000?
Thank you very much. And because there is just short time, I will focus on that. Yeah. You see, people are just being insincere. The use of samples to be able to know what is the national picture is not a strange thing. We started it in 2007, and our result was almost the same as that of the Electoral Commission. In 2012, our result was almost the same as that of the Electoral Commission. In 2018, and our projection was almost the same as the Electoral Commission. 2023, our projections were the same as the Electoral Commission as far as the parliamentary and local council elections were concerned. The only variation was that of the presidency.
Okay.
That was just it. And the turnout and the invalid votes, those were the mismatch.
Okay.
So if our projection was in tune with other aspects of the results announced, I wonder why it was only the presidential result that had a variance with our projection. And let me tell you that this thing is scientific. It is a methodology that is used all over the world, not just here in Sierra Leone, and it is a methodology that we used to solve the impasse in 2018.
Okay.
So people are just being hypocritical.
All right. Thank you very much, Gavin. Aminata, Honorable, just a few seconds.
Thank you very much. What I want to add to this is that, just like one of the messages read, I think there's been lack of sincerity and goodwill with this bill. It's evidence in what has been written here and what is now before us.
Right.
However, the mandate is now resting upon Parliament to do the right thing.
Okay.
But the President and his team, the AG and this government, had shown that they haven't meant well. As I said, we've had previous bill before. I, fortunately, to be part of the legislative committee, we've had bills like abortion, where they give MP monies to go and educate their people.
Okay.
Why was it not done for this bill?
Right.
And again, why was the APC excluded right to this point?
Okay. Honorable
That's my
Munir?
take.
Yes, my final word is every family has an educated individual. Let us ensure we take this draft to our families, and so that we discuss it fully and understand, rather than whatever is taken to us, we just copy it hook, line, sinker. Because Reverend clearly mentioned that because of lack of knowledge, people suffer. So this time, we don't want that to happen. So let families come, have the document. And I'd really wanted, though time is against us, for Reverend to answer why has SLPP got the potential to win the percentages with regards to other political parties that do not, because it tells you that SLPP is a national party and we continue to be a hospitable party and gives the room for more votes to come to our favor. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll end today's edition of the program here. On the panel, we are Honorable Muniru Lansana from the 5th Parliament, who is a member of the Sierra Leone People's Party.
That the SLP has the potential to get more votes. I don't want to be misconstrued.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Reverend. And also, Aminata Sese, Honorable from the main position of People's Congress Party, and Reverend James Lahai, whom you just heard from, who is the National Coordinator of National Elections Watch. I want to thank you very much indeed to my producers, Imari Momo, Lansford McLean, the graphic editors, Joshua Steady Bangura, the entire AYV technical and graphical crew, including Sylvanus Top, who is behind the TriCaster. In case you've missed part of this live session here today, we'll rebroadcast this very program on Tuesday next week at 11 a.m. in the morning on DSTV 399. Victor Jones, my name, and you've been watching and hearing us from the top of Tar Hill, where our studios are housed. Up next is Primetime News. Goodbye.